Good evening, my friends. You are all very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. I've just finished recording an interview with David Lynch. Delighted to say that will be out tomorrow on both podcast form and on video form as well. Podcast should probably go a little bit earlier, so if you do subscribe to the Anfield Agenda podcast, whatever your favourite platform is, probably about 9 a.m. for that one to drop. The video should come out about midday here on YouTube. It was lovely catching up with David, and we got stuck into all the transfer talk. A couple of interesting bits of information that have come out in the video. I don't want to spoil it today, but we did get stuck into it. We always appreciate David's time, so make sure that you do check out David Lynch's YouTube channel. And if you like some good reading as well, don't forget to go and have a look at his Substack that you can subscribe to for all the latest Liverpool news. Right, how we all doing? Have we seen the chaos that's going on at the Olympic Games with regards to refereeing? If you thought we had it bad in the Premier League, my friends, wait until we talk through what happened at the Olympics between Argentina and Morocco earlier on. I've never heard the likes of it. It's mental. We're going to be talking about Anthony Gordon tonight as well. We're going to be ruling out some potential players. Some of them ones that I've spoken about quite a bit, at least. It's not looking favourable, shall we say. We're going to be speaking about the fact that Liverpool are doing business in this window. You can expect a flurry of activity. We're talking about some big signings by the looks of it. Some really, really top players. And we're going to be discussing what positions they're in. Elite midfielder is the phrase that's being thrown around. And a blitz of signings is the other one. So we're going to go through it all tonight, as always, asking you for your thoughts along the way. How do you ban FSG? I just don't have the capability to do that, mate. I wish it was as simple as a push of a button, but yeah, unfortunately I don't. I don't have any access to banning FSG. But what I can do is remind you guys about the Anfield Agenda live shows coming up next week. I can't believe it. A week away now. We're going to be in Cardiff and in Liverpool. You can get your tickets with a link pinned to the top of the chat. Right. I really hope we sign Ederson, said Harry James. We did speak about Ederson when we talked with David Lynch. Again, David just said, basically, I'm summarising here. Not going to give too much of what we spoke about away, but Ederson is a name that was mentioned early in the window, but has gone relatively quiet in his circles anyway. So I don't know how to feel about the Ederson one. But one thing that came out yesterday, that will come out tomorrow, was around the centre-back situation. And one name that we've been strongly linked to was ruled out. And actually understand it a bit more. David explained it really well. I'll leave it for tomorrow for you guys to check out. But it did give me a fresh perspective on these things. And I always appreciate hearing and bouncing ideas off other people as well. Very, very interesting stuff. So I really think you're going to enjoy that one tomorrow. Will I be doing a watch-along for the Betis game? Yes, I am, Ryan. We are going to be doing the Betis game, and I'm hopeful to be doing the Arsenal game as well. The reason I say hopeful for the Arsenal game is I have to leave my house about 5:15 in the morning to head to the UK to board the ferry. So we're going to be doing the watch-along of the Arsenal game, finishing it at about 2:30 or 3, and then going a couple of hours later. So yes, probably to that one, but definitely on Friday we will be doing the Real Betis game, starting from about 1:15 to midnight. Please not Mark Gay, said Troy. I think you can read from my expressions there, Troy. First super chat of the night. I'll be quickly followed by the second super chat of the night. Thank you guys very much for that. David Massett, always a pleasure to see you with, my friend. Said, evening Craig, had enough of our owners for trying to take our fan base as fools. We can all see what we need. Centre half and a defensive midfielder and a forward. We won't sign anybody because that's what Klopp has left us with, or because we won't win anything, with what Klopp has left us. So certainly feel like, speaking with David today, there is a real strong chance we are going to get those signings. As I go through tonight's stream and read you out some of the reports that are doing the rounds, it all seems to be pointing in the direction of signings. It does. I have to be honest about what I see. I don't like to come on and moan for the sake of it. I moan if I feel there's a reason. And the picture that's been painted is a positive one. Now, it's not talking about it isn't going to get anything solved. We need these signings done. So we're going to discuss that tonight, of course, as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold situation, we ran the numbers past David. Again, seems reasonable to think that the £300,000 a week figure isn't a million miles away. We don't have definitive confirmation, but I did get one, I don't know if you call it an exclusive, but a confirmation around something happening next year. Again, I don't want to destroy my own video by talking about it too much, but it was an action-packed few minutes we spoke. Right, second super chat of the night. Thoughts on the tier list DM'd on Insta? I don't look at any of our social media accounts, mate. So if you're talking to anybody on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it isn't me. It will be Connor most likely. I don't do social media. It's just too toxic for me. So I try to just keep my social media to here when I'm chatting with you guys. So I don't know the list, mate. Sorry. Squeaky clean. Hope you're feeling good today. Can't wait for pre-season like the rest of us. Still anxiously awaiting some signings. Day 33 now. And on day 33, on your behalf, mate, I'm going to say, John, where's the money? Where's the money, John? But look, there is some signs for positivity today. I saw lots of people crying about Trent on 300k, said Andrew Wright. I don't think we really have too much right to complain about that, David, you know? Like, look, let's look at where he's starting from right now, which is about £200,000 a week. So when you have a negotiation with a player who's currently on 200 grand a week, who's just going into the prime of their career, who has proven over the course of the last 6-7 years that he is that guy. He is talented enough. He's a local boy. He's a future captain. I don't see the problem in it. I don't. Like, of course, we'd like to see the number as low as possible. But £300,000 a week puts him on Saka money. And I would argue that he's earned the right for that money more than Saka. But still Trent does have some stuff to prove. He needs to put all this together and get back to his best, whether that's a marauding right back or right wing back, or whether that's a central midfielder. We are going to find that out over time. But I would ask, I know it's not you, Andrew, but I would ask what these people expected to happen. You know, he is mindful of Real Madrid's interest, so that's there. You've got to take into account his situation 11 months to go. I've always warned, in any negotiation, leverage is important. And Trent, at this moment, in that negotiation, has real leverage. He's got the biggest club in the world flirting their eyes at him. He knows that he could hang around Leave for free and make a load of dough. So I think 300k a week seems pretty expected, is what I would say. Rather than fair, I think expected is about that. Heard Mo going on a free now, said Trevor O'Reilly. I've always said that to you, mate. I've always said that there's no way that Rami Abbas and Mohamed Salah are going to accept the sale. Why would they? Again, we touched on this when we spoke with David, but to give you my own thoughts on it, you do have to look at it and go, well, if you're Mo and you know that your future past this season might not be with Liverpool, because we're not going to give him a pay rise. We'd be absolutely insane to give him a pay rise. You know, would he accept the same wages? Well, even if the club wanted to do that, I'm not so sure that he would or not. Again, just taking this from what I'm seeing. And if you were him, or if I were him, would we take a transfer fee this summer? Would we be happy to be sold? Probably not. When we know if we just hang in one more year, still play for a great club in a great stadium in front of great fans, that we will get a truckload of cash as a signing on bonus when we do depart in a year's time. So it feels like our Mohamed Salah situation is going to mirror somewhat Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne situation, in that the club don't want to let the player move on this season. The player doesn't seem to have any clear sight that there's going to be an extension, and all probability is that they leave on a free, move on at the end. It is what it is, I guess. You know, I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. Obviously, as a fan, I'd always like to recoup a transfer fee, but it doesn't look like there is any chance of a sale at this moment in time for Mohamed Salah this summer, unless something really, really, really mad happened with Saudi and they came in with an offer that everybody couldn't refuse. But as of right now, I would say you're probably right to think he's going on a free. Do you reckon you could get Connor to send it to you? Yes, Harry, I will, mate. I will. I'll get Connor to send it on to me, and I'll cover it tomorrow, if you don't mind. Today, I've got a jam-packed show to get through, and I'm going to start with that right now. So, Anthony Gordon. This is a name you will not have heard the last of. Now, I know there was a Newcastle I don't know if it was a fan or a journalist or somebody who was talking about the fact that Liverpool aggregators are still going on about Anthony Gordon, despite Eddie Howe and Newcastle saying this, that and the other. Look, the fact of the matter is, and I say this without any hesitation, Anthony Gordon wants to come to Liverpool. Anthony Gordon wants to be a Liverpool player. And Liverpool, they like Anthony Gordon. I'm going to read you out some stuff tonight that might give you more of a clearer pathway on this one. So, Luke Edwards of the Telegraph said Anthony Gordon told his teammates while away with England that a move to Liverpool was going to happen. Gordon's representatives desperately tried to revive the move in the late days of June, but were unable to do so because Liverpool weren't willing to get rid of Kwanzaa. That's what the sticking point was. It wasn't that they didn't like or didn't want Anthony Gordon, and I do think we're going to see this one revisited. I'm very, very, very firm believing we're going to see it revisited. Chris Bascom has said Liverpool rebuffed Newcastle's approach to discuss a deal for Anthony Gordon in June, even though under different circumstances that would interest the club. You know, we don't get much credit on little old Anfield Agenda, but I have been telling you, you've not heard the last of Anthony Gordon for a while, and I don't know if it'll be this summer or if it'll be in the future. But one thing that we do have to keep an eye on as well is the Lucho situation. So if Lucho was moved on this summer, and it doesn't look likely at this moment in time, you're really only thinking PSG. It looks like Barcelona have their eyes fixed on maybe Dani Olmo, certainly Nico Williams. So if Lucho was to move on, then I think we go after Gordon in this window. If he isn't, then it could be a next window situation. But I do think Anthony Gordon and Liverpool are not finished. And look, Newcastle fans watching, I'm not trying to scaremonger, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's kind of Newcastle's fault. And you can't blame the kid. If any of us worked for an employer that tried to pawn us off to another employer to save money, but it didn't happen, and then they come back telling us we're great and how much they appreciate us and yada, 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 we all know Anthony Gordon is going to feel slighted by this. Anthony Gordon's agent's going to use it. And the best case scenario for Newcastle fans, I think, is if he does sign a new deal, there'll be a guaranteed release clause in it, I would imagine. So yeah, I can only again report what I see and what I believe, and I do think we will see Anthony Gordon at Liverpool at some point in the future. Hope I can fly in from Italy next Saturday for the show in my hometown on Sunday. Got COVID today, said David Massa. So sorry to hear that you got COVID, mate. I hope that your recovery is quick, and I hope you're not feeling too bad. It's be a shame if you couldn't come in for the show next Sunday, but what have we got now? I think we should be alright at this point, mate. I think, and you know, your symptoms are the most important things, but from a time perspective, I think you've certainly got enough time to recover and get back across, because we'd love to see you. Andrew said 75 million for average, what a joke. I didn't once, mate, when I was speaking there, talk about a number for Anthony Gordon. I haven't mentioned one, not once. And as for saying he's average, respectfully disagree. I'm not saying he's the greatest player in the world, but I can only tell you what I honestly hear and read. You know, my opinion, your opinion, they're just that, mate. They're opinions. But the club, you know, the club certainly have a fondness for Anthony Gordon. Craig, can you make a poll, Gordon or Kubo? I mean, yes, but it's just a, how would I phrase it? It's just a perception thing for us fans. Kubo, I'm still unsure of where we're at with Kubo. I don't want to give away exactly what David said, but I will be going on to speak with Sai, Liverpool fan in Japan, on his channel tomorrow. So I'm sure we'll get stuck into the whole Kubo stuff on there. If you're asking me for my gut feeling on it, no, is my gut feeling on Kubo. Yeah, no would be where I would say less likely. Craig, players who really want Liverpool should get signed. We haven't heard that for a while since Szoboszlai signed Gordon. I think we will. I just don't know when. But I do want to talk about midfield, because that's something that came up quite a lot in post today. So Chris Bascom of The Telegraph, a very good journalist. Chris Bascom is certainly somebody I would hold in high regard. He said, any centre-back that Liverpool sign will be one to challenge for a senior position, not instantly assume it. So they're going to bring in somebody who perhaps would fight for a starting position, not be guaranteed to come in and get one. One really interesting point that David made on Mark A, which again, I don't want to ruin the interview too much, but he did speak about his lack of aerial prowess and how with Liverpool playing with a high line, that aerial prowess is important. Virgil van Dijk, one of, if not the best aerial defenders in the world. Kanade, very good aerially as well. Kwanzaa, good, tall and aerial. So that was one thing that kind of went against him when we spoke about the whole Mark A interest or lack of interest. Stevie Boy asked, any truth on Pedro Neto interest for 60 million? I don't know about numbers. I don't know about revisiting, but all I can say again on that is that Pedro Neto is a player that Liverpool have always been fond of. I don't know if it'll go past that. And it's not breaking news to tell you that. It's been widely reported, but you obviously have to have concerns around his injury record. I've always liked Neto as a player. He's got that fire in his belly. He's a good player. He'd run through a brick wall for you, that type of guy. But I don't know of anything impending. Inacio for me, said Pro. Well, right club, wrong centre-back. So when we spoke again, the name... And I'm not saying that this is a link for now, but we spoke about the type of centre-backs that have been linked in the past. And Diamonde of Sporting was a name that came up more in the conversation today than the idea of Inacio as an example. But that was in past tense that we initially looked at. Again, because of that aerial prowess, physicality. And I think if I'm not wrong, I think he has a 70 or 75 million euro release clause. But again, I'm not trying to suggest that he's the centre-back. My own gut feeling, based off what I've read and seen, is the likes of, and I'm not trying to say this is the guy, but the likes of Dean Huijsen, that kid from Juventus, 19, tall, good solid centre-back. They're the type of ones I think we could probably assume that we could put in the maybe pile, because lots of time to develop, good attributes, decent price point, and I think we're going to have Virgil around for a little while longer as well. So I don't think we have to plan for an immediate Virgil successor for next season as an example. I feel like there's every chance Virgil signs a new deal. Right, something else from Chris Bascom. Where was it? Sorry, I'm flying through my notes here. So this is something that I think a lot of you are going to like to hear, and certainly I'd like to discuss it. One area glaringly in need of improvement remains central midfield, and Arne Slot sees the number 6 as a critical component in his side. So there is no doubt that we're looking at a 6. There's no doubt we're looking at a central midfielder, and that seems to be the priority from what I can gather. Centre-back is another position we're assessing, but names again for the number 6 are thin on the ground. You know my take, you know who I want, Ederson. We did a poll yesterday on the channel. We ran through 8 names. You guys ended up picking Ederson as well. So let's wait and see. We know what it will take. Maybe we'll get a better indication if Atalanta are able to sign Matt O'Reilly. If they can get to a number that will satisfy Celtic, then perhaps. Again, from Chris Bascom, the area glaring need of improvement remains central midfield. We've done that one. I like this from Footy Insider, though, who say Liverpool are set for a late window signing blitz. The club are working on multiple deals to bring in a centre-back, a winger and a defensive midfielder before the window shuts. Now, I got to push back on something here that I've seen in the public again today. This notion of Slot assessing his squad before transfers, I don't believe that to be true. Let me explain why. Of course I believe Arne Slot wants to assess his squad, but we've already signalled out the areas that need to be improved. And that's now agreed pretty much across the board. Whether you're talking about the athletics journalists, David Lynch, Chris Bascom, whomever. Everybody acknowledges roughly the positions that we know need to be strengthened. So the assessing of the squad part doesn't really hold water in that regard. Where it does, of course, come into play is when you're talking about fringe players. Players like maybe our Carvalho, and seeing what they do. If they impress him enough to stay, or if he thinks we need more strength there. I'm absolutely open to that. But I'm not open to the idea of waiting around till they're back from America to sign the positions we've already all admitted we need to sign. So I don't think the narrative that nothing will happen over the next 2 weeks is true. I really don't. I think that we will see a signing over the next week to 10 days as Liverpool look to beef up their business and get it going, and certainly they're the kind of vibes and indications that we're getting as well. So, don't just assume nothing's going to happen while the club are over in the USA. There are some top Reds who think we don't actually need any signings, by the way. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that, mate, All I can say is I strongly disagree. I was giving my opinion on Diaz price, not Gordon. Sorry, Andrew. I had wondered that, mate, when I'd seen it, because that was the price tag mentioned for Diaz. Now, I understand the asking price for Diaz. Remember, we paid, I think, around 50, give or take, for Diaz, if my memory's right. Somewhere in and around that. And since he's come to Liverpool, without a doubt, his profile and standing in world football has grown. He had a really good Copa America with Colombia. His problem has just been that he's never been really prolific, has he? He's never really put up huge numbers. Energy's there, work rate's there, a lot to admire. From Liverpool's perspective, he's in his prime now, 27 years of age. He's got 3 years on his contract. He's not a particularly high earner, so there isn't a real incentive for Liverpool to move him on. The club are happy, from all accounts, with Diaz. But if somebody came to the table, the number is 75, according to the report. So, I'm not saying we all have to agree on it or not, but that is the number. And one thing that seems to be an area of concern for a lot of fans that I've had a chance to speak to or interact with over the last few weeks has been the overpricing, perhaps, of some of the fringe players or some of the players that were willing to move on. Let's use two examples. Sepp van den Berg and Caoimhín Kelleher. This myth that's been posted by, I can only say, non-Liverpool accounts, that Sepp van den Berg's price of 20 million euro is too high is just nonsense. He's worth every penny of it. And Kelleher as well at £25 million if somebody wants to come in for him. You're not going to find a better goalkeeper really for £25 million at the age he's at for Kelleher. So the frustration for me lies in the likes of a Nat Phillips, a Reece Williams, players who definitely do not have long-term futures at the club. And I don't like that we haven't been able to shift them on, because every couple of million quid counts, right? And if you can bring in some money for these players, it'll help. So I think fans are right to feel a little bit questioning about the olden days when Edwards was in, where we used to get top dollar for I guess semi-average players, or certainly players that weren't going to make the grade at Liverpool. Those seem to have dried up a little bit at the minute, where we're looking at other clubs selling off young talent who half of us have never heard of for absolutely ludicrous sums of money, 20 millions, 30 millions for players that we've never heard of. There's something weird in the football transfer world in that regard, and I don't know if it's nefarious or not. The Irish manager said he should find a new club for first 16 games. Look, I think every Irish manager has kind of had that opinion about Kelleher, and I think it's natural to say it, because for us, we obviously, if we're going to choose Kelleher as the number one for Ireland, you'd want him playing. Bazunu, another great goalkeeper that we have, but I don't think the Irish national team manager's opinion really holds too much weight here. It'll be down to what Caoimhín Kelleher views as best for his own career, and I think he's earned the right to make that decision as well. What's that banging inside your head, perhaps? I don't know. I'm not banging anything, mate. I don't know what banging you're hearing, but no banging at my end. Silva from Benfica. Thoughts, Craig? He's class. He's also over 100 million euro, I think, for a centre-back. And look, Antonio Silva is a great centre-back, and I'd have him in a heartbeat, but not seeing anything ever linking him to us. What's this one? So, Chris Bascom, speaking about Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah and their contract situation, said, the indications are that all parties are biding their time. Salah and Virgil van Dijk are aware they remain fundamental to Liverpool's plans this season, and there are more financial benefits from leaving on a free transfer. I get the feeling Mo's going. I think we need to come to terms with Mo leaving. It'll be at the end of the season most likely, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a future there with Liverpool and Mo together. With Virgil, I still think he feels like he's got more to give in Europe at the top level. And by all accounts, the vibes are positive from Virgil back towards the club. But we also have to be honest about this and think about what the likes of Kevin De Bruyne said. You know, some of the sums of money that are potentially on offer to these guys to go to Saudi Arabia, to use Kevin De Bruyne's own words, 15 years as a professional footballer, and he could earn more than that in 2 years going to play in Saudi. So it will be used as leverage. I'm sure Virgil is going to have offers from not just Saudi, but from other clubs, the likes of maybe Borussia Dortmund, who could do with an established centre-back to come in to replace Hummels, or other clubs. So he's not going to be short of options. But I do believe he genuinely loves the club. And I do believe that he would like to stay. It's just a matter of who blinks first here. Because if Virgil sees Trent on 300 and Virgil's the club captain, he's of course going to want high money. But you can't give him 300 grand a week. Or can you? I don't know. But it would feel a lot for a 33-year-old defender. Albeit one of the best defenders in the world. But, you know, I don't know. I feel Virgil has at least 2 years left at the top level. And I hope he extends. And I think ultimately he will extend. But I don't see a road for Salah to stay at the club beyond this season. I think it is just going to come to a natural end. Maroon Atari said, it scares me that Virgil wants a new challenge. De Bruyne is also his best friend and was his neighbour. Look, if it happens, it happens. Either way, I don't see a world that Virgil leaves this summer. We spoke about this in the interview with David Lynch as well. You know, every player, I guess, has a number. But I don't think Virgil's leaving this summer. I think it would take something absolutely astonishingly high for Liverpool to entertain it. So then the question is going to be, is it going to be an extension or does Virgil leave? And reports have said that Liverpool and Virgil are both relaxed about it and they'll talk as the season goes on. And I'm a lot more relaxed about this than the Trent situation. I just couldn't get my head around the club thinking that letting Trent go on a free was in any way a possibility. You're talking about somebody there who's 25, coming into the prime of their career. With Virgil, I want him to stay. But I can understand that the club will probably have a valuation of wages or a number that they want to pay a player at that stage of his career. And perhaps that won't align to Virgil's thought process on his agents. Or maybe it will. But either way, both of them looks like they'll be here this season. And if they don't agree, off they pop next summer. But Trent, it seems like we're moving in the right direction there. Craig, what happened at the Olympics today? Oh, the mother of all mess-ups. So, the Olympics is already underway from a footballing perspective. And today there was a game on between Morocco and Argentina. Morocco were leading 2-1. Argentina score a goal 16 minutes into stoppage time. And the goal scored, referee blows up the game, players go off the pitch. The next part that you're about to hear is the part that's absolutely unfathomable, but yet really happened. 2 hours passed. I'm not joking. 2 hours passed. The referee brings the players back onto the pitch, disallows the equalising goal for Argentina, meaning it's 2-1 Morocco, and makes them play out 3 minutes of stoppage time. So, let me fly through that again. Game ended 2-2 with a late Argentina equaliser. Everybody goes off into the changing rooms. Referee then decides that the goal was actually offside. Calls the players back out 2 hours afterwards. Rules out the goal. And then makes them play 3 more minutes. Javier Mascherano, who's the coach of the Argentinian Olympic team, said it is a circus and a farce. And it is. It's absolutely laughable that happened. It's ridiculous. I don't have anything to say other than how on earth was that allowed to happen? I wouldn't have done it. No way my players would have been walking back out on the pitch 2 hours after the game was over. Not a chance. But yet again, football's been turned into a laughing stock by incompetent officiating. Welcome. That's where we're at. And this is the Olympics, you know? Crazy stuff. This isn't some semi-pro league somewhere. This is full VAR, semi-automated offside technology, the whole shebang. Absolute joke. Russ Mays, thank you, mate, for being a member with us for 17 months. Really appreciate it. It actually happened. It did. I know, I thought people were on a wind-up at first in our Discord group, but it did actually happen. Adam Brown said, would love to see your reaction if Paul Tierney did that to Liverpool. I would have a meltdown. Mate, I don't think there'd be an Anfield Agenda channel on YouTube or on podcasts afterwards, because the mouthful that I'd come out with, I would fully expect to be in court. And rightly so, because there would be very aggressive language used, to say the least. But I can't imagine a world where anybody would let that happen in the Prem. Like 2 hours! I've heard of referees sending teams in for half time and then calling them back out for a penalty. I'm sure I've heard of that happen once before. But 2 hours for 3 minutes and to rule out a goal for a game that had already been blown up to finish. It's absolutely ridiculous. But there you go. So, Chris Bascom, again speaking about Virgil's situation, said, the great unknown in Salah and Van Dijk's case is whether the Saudis will come back in and tempt Liverpool with game-changing mega bids for players, or will Liverpool lose them for free? Ben, can we get a poll up, please? And give 4 options. The question, now, you guys, audience, have to listen to the question carefully. What do you think will happen with Virgil and Mohamed Salah? So 2 options, Ben, for each player, please. Leave on a free, or new contract for both of them. And let's see what people think. I know that there's an option to extend, but no, do you know what, Ben? Scratch it. We'll do it individually for each player. Let's do it that way. Sorry. So Virgil van Dijk, Ben, contract extension, leave for free, or sold this summer. So contract extension, leave for free, or sold this summer. What do the Anfield Agenda viewers think will happen? It's not what you want to happen. It's what you think will happen. I've heard Bournemouth are apparently going for Hoyson, said Jason Hammond. I wouldn't be surprised, mate. One line from one of these... from The Athletic. One line of something really stood out to me, and I wanted to share it with you. Michael Edwards has believed, as always, in the importance of ignoring the outside noise and bringing in players when the feeling within the club is that they can add significant value. So, obviously myself and David today spoke about Lenny Yoro and that situation. And whilst I can understand Liverpool maybe not wanting to pay the wages that United paid, I'll never understand Liverpool not being willing to think that he was worth the transfer fee, even allowing for the year left on his Lille deal. That shouldn't matter to me. For me, it's, is this player worth this amount of money to us as the buying club, and will we be able to get value for that over the course of time? And I thought, always believed, that the answer to that was yes. But can I see a world where Liverpool maybe didn't want to give him 140, 150 grand a week right now? Yes, I can see that as well. Right, so the poll is up for Virgil. And we said, what do you think will happen with Virgil van Dijk? Leave on a free in 2025, contract extension, or sold this summer? And once we get that one, we'll repeat the process with Mohamed Salah. So, Football Whisper, you would have got your comment read out other than the 7th time posting this. Smack of entitlement much, mate? Do you think any of us really intentionally just say, let's see how much time Football Whisperer with the Fabrizio Romano icon can keep posting the same shit and crying about the fact it didn't get read out? You may have noticed, bro, but I'm doing my best here to keep up with people, and never showing that level of petulance is it going to work out well for you. Because if you are really that concerned about it, you could have sent a super chat for it to be guaranteed to be read out. But ultimately, I'm trying to go through as many comments as I can. And 7th time posting this, that's a fuck you post. So guess what you're going to get back? A fuck you. Can you do the poll with Trent? Of course, absolutely. Absolutely, Podrick. We can do that, no problem, mate. But let's just go through one by one on these ones. It always baffles me, this entitlement some people have. I don't get it. Like, just in general in life, it's weird. I try to read as many comments as I can. And I get it, sometimes people get frustrated. And there are instances where I don't see one that maybe people have put in multiple times. But I do my best. And I certainly don't disrespect the commenters. So I expect the same level back to me, you know. Craig, am I wrong, or do Liverpool usually have the away kit released by this time of the season? I would expect it very soon, mate. In fact, it was kind of leaked, wasn't it, when the under-18s were playing Frankfurt? So I would expect we'll see a launch of that soon. Usually the club would like to give it at least a month or so for the home kit to be out, to make sure that obviously they can maximise those sales. But I'm like yourself, mate. I'm waiting for the away kit, because I actually think I'm going to buy it for the first time in a while. I actually think I'm going to buy the away kit because I like it. So, yeah, let's wait and see. I think it should be soon, though. We all just love you as all. Cal, I love you guys to bits, mate. Honestly. You guys are like family to us at this point. Even my wife talks about you in the sense of extended family, believe it or not. It's just that it's weird. Like, we try our best. You know, I would argue we're probably one of the most interactive channels, but, you know, one of the downsides to growth is that, of course, those personal interactions that you could have had multiple times as we were growing through the years. It's the thing that we've tried the hardest to make sure we can stay interactive. It is difficult, though, as you grow. Rumours on the COP being expanded. I don't see how it's possible without a really big undertaking because of the road and the space behind it. Look, I'm a Liverpool fan. I hope the stadium can get expanded to as big as possible to fit as many fans in. But it's always been the one that was spoken about as the most difficult to do. There are other things you've got to take into account then as well. You know, the bigger you build, if you go above certain numbers, you have to look at infrastructure. So you have to look at public transport links. Can it cope with that amount of people? Noise pollution for the residents in the surrounding areas, and all these other things that I, quite frankly, am qualified to talk about. But like you, mate, I'd love to see it happen. Yeah, you know, I've been to Spurs' new stadium, and that one-tiered section that they have, I think it holds, I want to say 17,000 maybe, something like that. It is an impressive structure. That and the yellow wall, of course, you know, all single-tiered, brilliant stands. So yeah, I'd love to see it happen, but I don't know how feasible it is. Colin said, Craig, it's going to happen. Property is being bought up big time. Good. I hope so. Look, the more Liverpool fans that can get to watch the team, the better. I'm all for the club modernising the stadium as much as possible, and absolutely. Just, I don't know the intricacies of the building process of that, so I'm not the right person to speak about it. But look, I have to say, the stands that have been done to a really high standard. I've been inside the new main stand. I've been lucky enough to go to a game there. I haven't been at the new Annie Road yet. And I have to say, very impressive. Jack Dempsey, how are you, bro? Said, could you imagine as a situation Chelsea had to sell next summer and we got Palmer as a Salah replacement? I'm dreaming, I know. You are dreaming, I know. I can't see a situation where I'd say they'd sell everybody else, mate. But Palmer, look, of all the deals that Chelsea have done, you've got to give them credit on that one. And Palmer. I think Cole Palmer deserves a massive credit as well, because he backed himself. The kid wanted to go and play, and he backed himself to succeed, and he's done it. So full credit to him. Great young player. But I can't see a world that Chelsea are going to let him go. Michael Burns, thank you for your super chat, Michael. Michael said, I know this hasn't been a great window so far, but we have a good team already, so all we need is 2 signings, and I think this will be an alright window. I think 3 personally, mate, but 2 wouldn't be the end of the world. And I agree with you. Look, I'm as anxious and want transfers as much as anybody else. And I'll keep calling out the owners about being cheap till they show us otherwise. But what you've said there makes some sense as well. We do have a good squad. Not good enough to win a league title, in my opinion, as things stand, but a good squad nonetheless. You know, even without a signing, we could put out a team tomorrow that would look like Alisson. For argument's sake, right now, let's say Trent at right back, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, Robbo, McAllister, Bajcetic. I don't know who else he'd put in that, because it's hard to pick this out. Like Soboslai, Salah, Darwin, Diaz / Lucho. You can put out a very, very good side. But it's the depth. It's the days where we go through those injuries, where the football comes thick and fast in and around Christmas time, when players start to feel fatigued. One thing that's really impressed me from reading up on, what's the dude's name again? I'm still getting used to Arne Slot's backroom team's name, sorry. Is it Hulshoff? One of them is the guy who basically tells Slot, no more pushing this guy, no more training longer than this. Very impressive stuff, and apparently Feyenoord had one of the best availability, I think over 90% of players in the Eredivisie, because how much Arne Slot listened to this guy when it came to, was it Ruben Peters maybe? It could be Ruben Peters. Yeah, when it came to Ruben Peters' suggestions about how long sessions should be, how much recovery players would need, and what players are getting close to maybe being more prone to an injury. Craig, are you secretly missing Adrian? Oh. Yeah, no, I really haven't. I couldn't believe I said Adrian there. Of all the names, like, Adrian, yeah, the one person I never want to see in the Liverpool goal. Yeah. That was definitely a slip of the tongue. Did you see that we're linked to Kudus? Yes, I just got it sent to me just before we went live. Right, a couple of things, my friends. Can we be really cheeky tonight? Can we get to 264,000 subscribers? We've got about 45 minutes left. We are, what are we now? 68 away from getting to 264,000. So if you're new to the stream, firstly, you're very welcome along. If you haven't, please do hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to drop a like on the stream as well. The tickets for the live shows, before I finish up this poll that we have and move on to the Salah one. The Liverpool show, I think there are some tickets left. I don't want to say how many, but there are some. So if you're thinking of coming to that, if you want to come, I'd say go ahead and get those tickets as soon as you possibly can. And Cardiff as well. I think Cardiff, there's about 25 tickets left for Cardiff. Both of them are 15 quid, and they're coming up next week. So if you want to come and see us, they're all ages events. and you can get your tickets with the link at the top of the chat or in the description. Right, let's get to this poll. So what do we think will happen with Virgil van Dijk? And 73% of you wonderful people have said contract extension for Mr. Virgil. Oh, little update. Remember yesterday I told you guys that I had a job opportunity that would have meant I had to turn down the channel and I would have had to move into this other job that was far more restrictive in the contract. It would have made me very well known and paid me quite handsomely, but I sent the email yesterday to, politely decline the opportunity. They've come back to me today, willing to go a little bit higher, but I'm still going to say no. There isn't a number in this scenario because the decision to me didn't come down to money. It came down to the channel. Do I think Anfield Agenda has a future? Do I think we're finished what we started here? And the answer is definitely no. So rather than take the quick buck again, I'm looking to make sure that we become the monster I think we can be on as many platforms as we can. So the podcast, the YouTube channel, all of that. I don't think I'm finished here yet. I've got more stuff I want to achieve. So there isn't a number. It's like, well, there's always a number, but not one that we're going to get to. So on that Kudus thing, Ben, could we get the next poll up, please? For Mohamed Salah, same poll, same outcomes, or same options, just for Mo. Everybody like the stream, subscribe if you're new. This is the best family on YouTube, said Adam Brown. I think we are. I think we have the greatest community on YouTube because I think we've got the best hearted, is that the right word? The best. I think we've got amazing subscribers who really give a shit about each other, and I love it. Do you remember the whole weird situation with Rodgers and Sterling over the word steady? Also, do you think we should have stuck with Reina over Mignolet back in 2013? So, no, on the Pepe Reina thing, because he basically left the club with no choice than to move him on. He started to flirt with Barca. He really thought he was going to get a move there. And I love Pepe Reina, by the way. Pepe Reina was, is one of my favourite all-time Liverpool goalkeepers. Love the man. But I think at that time, he dug a hole and the club had to make a stance. So I think it was the right decision. Obviously, he's still playing. I think he signed on with Como this year as their second or third choice keeper. But I do think at the time it was the right... we have to remember what the Liverpool landscape was at that time. And he very much seemed that he wanted to leave at that point. Right, so the Mohamed Salah poll is up. Same options. What do you think will happen with Salah? Leave on a free in 2025, contract extension, or sold this summer. Tifa, lovely to see you back in again, my friend. How are you? Said, Craig, if we got 70 million for Salah, who would you sign? Look, my initial answer would be Nico Williams, but I don't think he'd move. So I guess I'll give you three names and three different reasons. Kudus, because I like his versatility, and I think we missed the boat on that one. Anthony Gordon, even though he operates more on the left side, I still think he would be a great replacement to come into the front line, and we could look to rejig. But the one that I think is the obvious answer that people might not agree with is Jarrod Bowen. Jarrod Bowen is the one that I don't think would have us missing a heartbeat with regards to the quality or time to adapt. He's not achievable because of the long-term contract he signed with West Ham and how highly they'd value him. And the fact that he's, 27, 28 now, but I still think 4 years of him would be brilliant. And I think he could do an amazing job. So they're the three names off the top of my head. Williams I don't think is viable. Gordon I like the idea of, even though you'd have to utilise him on the other side maybe, or move somebody else across. Kudus, I love Kudus and his versatility, but I've always told you guys, I think Bowen is that system player for us that would be... I've always dreamt of Jarrod Bowen being there like Robin van Persie. Do you remember when United brought him in? end of his Arsenal career, sort of getting on in age, but still got, 3, 4, whatever good years out of him. I've always kind of had that dream about Jared Bowen in a Liverpool shirt, but that's not how we operate on a business front, so... who's this one? So, a West Ham fan TikTok. It's a very well groomed man, actually. Nice beard. Love the salt and pepper look. Suits him well. Don't know this gentleman, but looking good, sir. Looking good. Said, West Ham fan here reckons Liverpool are in for Kudus, especially now that Heitinga is on our coaching staff. 85 mil buyout clause, though. So, that buyout clause is not active. So, whoever reported that, in this case, I think it was Spy and Cop, to the best of my understanding, that release clause ended at the end of June. Now, it'll be reactive again, I think, next year, but right now, I don't think you can trigger that release clause, so you'd have to negotiate with West Ham. And look, 85 million, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and I think, as good as Kudus is, I think there's better value out there than £85 million for Kudus. So yeah, I think there's a couple of mistakes in that for the reasons I mentioned, but like Kudus as a player, just 85 million. If we wanted that, we'd just trigger the clause. Again, I would argue, because now it's more difficult to do. Now you'd have to agree a deal, and they're going to probably want north of the clause. Am I doing Ireland watch-alongs this year? No. I'm not that fussed, Limo, about international football, mate. It doesn't really do it for me. The Liverpool prophet said, letting Salah go on a free is so stupid. Think of it a different way at this point, though, mate. They won't move. So it's not like Liverpool are sitting there and saying, if any bid came in now, we wouldn't take it. Rami Abbas and Mohamed Salah won't accept a bid now. They won't. Because they know, one, that tells them unequivocally that the club don't want them, that the club don't see a long-term future there. And they know, just sit tight. Play a year in the Champions League with Liverpool, and then you get paid. So it's not going to happen, because their side wouldn't even entertain it. And I can see why, from a financial standpoint. So I think once we turned down those bids last summer, that was a case of all she wrote, and it's going to run down and down and down. Now look, I did pitch a mad idea before about a meeting in the middle type of deal, where if Saudi offered 80, 40 for Salah, 40 for Liverpool, and move on, but no indications of that. So it does look very much like it's not the club. It's just an impasse with regards to an extension and an unwillingness to be sold on their side, because, well, they'd be taking money out of their pockets. Craig, when you go to Saudi, can I have your backdrop? I don't envision a world where I'll be moving to Saudi anytime soon. I do see a world where I spend half my year in Spain and half my year in Ireland, maybe, but definitely don't think I'll be moving that far abroad. Hoyson has been left out of the Juventus pre-season tour squad, said LFC Shankly. Interesting. I think there are a lot of European clubs, and I include Premier League clubs, looking at Dean Huijsen. Again, excuse my pronunciation. He was on loan at Roma last year. He's 19. He looks like a good young centre-back, and I think he will move this summer. And as you said there, mate, LFC Shankly, it's certainly looking that the indication for Juventus are they want to sell. Price-wise, it's not mental, the numbers they're asking, about 25 million. I think, if I remember correctly, we're talking a couple of Bundesliga clubs and a couple of Premier League clubs who've been at least publicly acknowledged to be in the mix. Again, I mentioned this name when I spoke with David Lynch, and that interview is coming out at midday tomorrow. Or, if you're up early and you want to listen to it in podcast form, search Anfield Agenda on your podcast platform, and we will come up there. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching the podcast charts like a big child, to be honest with you. And seeing Anfield Agenda go up those charts is mental. You know, some of the names, for instance, in Ireland, at the moment, we're above the Fozcast in the podcast charts. We're above the Here We Go podcast in the podcast charts in Ireland at the moment for sport. We are below some of our peers, and the likes of the Anfield Rap, Redmen TV. Stretford Paddock's podcast does very well in Ireland as well for United fans. So to see us already 3 episodes in, start to move up those charts. We didn't dream of that. Honestly, we didn't think we'd even make the charts. But again, you guys have been phenomenal in your support, so thank you for that. And I've got to admit, I love doing them. I love doing podcasts. It's it makes me feel like I'm back to the start of my journey again, because that's where I did start. Chalobah left out of Chelsea pre-season squad. So the whole situation with Trevor Chalobah looks a bit weird. Like it feels like they're forcing him to move. They're going full Barcelona by the looks of it there. Which is a weird way to treat a homegrown product, right? And a player who came through, I believe, at Cobham and is a decent centre-back. So I don't understand that freezing out of it by Chelsea. But look, Chelsea, there's a lot to question with recruitment and the contract lengths they've given players. I've never got Todd Bowley's approach there. There's a lot of things that I would feel uneasy about if I was a Chelsea fan. I've heard a rumour that Calafiori could be facing Liverpool in the US tour. Yes, entirely possible. They are, I think David Ornstein said today, they're in the final stages of that negotiation over Calafiori, and the idea would be for him to jet out and join Arsenal on their tour. And of course, we play Arsenal on the 1st of August, if my memory's right. So, maybe. Hands off Saudi, you ain't getting our Craig, said Adam Brown. I hope not. Look, we've got 59 subscribers to go to get up to 264. So if you haven't subscribed, folks, please do. Yeah, the road to 1 million starts here. So let's see what happens. Luke Chambers. Piece here from Lewis Steele said, Luke Chambers is close to rejoining Wigan on loan. Some championship clubs were keen, but a return to the Latics was seen as the best for his development. He will feature in Liverpool's pre-season tour before joining up then with Wigan on loan. So again, good move for Luke Chambers. Somewhere obviously he felt, and Liverpool felt, a previous loan served him well. And let's see what happens for him over the course of the next 12 months. What else is there? On that one. Sorry, I'm just making sure I haven't missed that note in my notes here. Right. So, to summarise something from The Athletic, Anfield Sector have posted a good bullet point here of the Athletic piece that said, business may happen before the end of the pre-season tour if the right opportunity presents itself. Edwards won't sign average players just for the sake of it. Arne Slot wanted to fully assess his squad and the arguments for an elite midfielder. And that got me very excited. Elite midfielder. Again, we touched on this when I spoke with David, but I'm at a loss to figure out who that could be. I want Ederson. Others would say, obviously, João Neves. Others would say 3, 4, 5, 6 other names. But it doesn't feel like there's one definitive name in this search. So I'm excited to see. I did ask about Zubamendi, by the way, George, if you're watching. George asked me to ask David about Zubamendi. And again, I don't want to ruin the answer, but we'll see what happens tomorrow when you watch the interview. Right, so the Mohamed Salah question was, what do you think will happen with Mohamed Salah? Leave on a free in 2025 is leading with 65% of the vote. Contract extension, 21%. And sold this summer, now gone up to 14%. So I think we're almost at 800 votes there, aren't we? Yeah, we can end that one. So what percentage was this again? Let me just get this right. So 64% of you guys watching think that Mohamed Salah will end up leaving for free. And I'd be in that camp as well. So Ben, a little bit different for the Trent one if I can, mate. So same options, what do you think will happen? But put in... Oh, there he goes. Will he... Nope, he's taking it away again. So if we could just add an option in, Ben, of whether people think new contract but not worth 300k. Put that as an option, because I want to see if people feel that he is worth that money as well. So same options, but another one say new deal but less than the 300,000 being mentioned or something like that. It will be Varela. We were looking at him a year ago. Yes, we certainly have been linked with Varela. Varela, Ederson. Who else have we been realistically? I mean, Zubamendi is somebody who I know a lot of Liverpool fans would like to look at. I'm just trying to think of other realistic. João Neves of Benfica. I'm trying to think of other realistics. Like, one thing when I spoke about David that he was really, really, really firm on was that we really wanted Tchouaméni. Really. And that if ever there was an opportunity to revisit, if Real Madrid were ever stupid enough to sell, Liverpool would have been and would be all over that one. So that interest and that desire to sign Tchouaméni was very, very, very serious. But he wanted to move to Real Madrid, and the rest, as they say, is history. Jesus, Craig, he won't leave on a free. I never said he would, Liam, but we've got to put the options out there. I think Trent signs a new deal on 300 grand a week in the next 2 weeks, personally. So, but we've got to give you guys the option to have your say, and that's what this is about. Jason, Irish Red, said, hope you're all well this evening. Yes, good day. Busy day, mate, behind the scenes as well, finalising, a few extra bits of tech that Ben and the lads have been working on, and recording with David Lynch earlier on as well. Just really busy at the minute, but I like busy. Busy's always good. Guler updates, if any, please, Tanya. Tanya, I don't think there's any truth to it, in all honesty, mate. I don't. I know it's an easy one to like, because he's the right profile, but it would initially be a loan, and I can't see us bringing in a player on loan. It just doesn't suit us, unless there was a nailed-on price that we could buy him for. It's just like you're doing someone else a favour by bringing a player in. And let's say we bring him in on loan, and he does work out, and we sign him. Well, that money will then come off next summer's window, and psychologically, it's hard to get excited about money being spent on somebody who are used to already being in the squad. That's the thing I always found difficult about loans myself, was let's say you brought in a player, you've got used to them in the team for the year and they've done well, but then you have to pay for the player, and that comes out of any improvements you want for the next summer maybe. And I've always felt that a bit weird to deal with psychologically, because it feels like we've gotten used to having that luxury or that great player already, and then it comes time to pay up. Best way I can describe it to you. Of course it's going to be about food, because it's Anfield Agenda. You know that feeling when you're ordering dinner and you're sitting down there and you're there with your family or your mates, and the menus come out and you're bleeding starving and you want everything. Do you know what I mean? You want the steak, you want chips, you want whatever. And money is no object at that point. You're starving and you want what you want. So you eat the dinner, and then the bill comes, and then you look at the bill and go, why did I do that? Why did I spend that much money on that? I kind of think of it the same way. You'd have had the nice meal, and then the bill comes and you're suddenly not as excited about it as you were beforehand. Americans, I love you all, but what have you got against the letter U? Every word that contains the letter U, you guys seem to want to remove it from. Flavour, colour, favour. Why do you not like the letter U? That only dawned on me yesterday. Why? You want the broccoli? Nobody wants the broccoli. Fuck broccoli. Broccoli is the devil. Soggy little, horrible, shitty little... Broccoli is the mighty red of vegetables. That's what I'd say. Damn broccoli. Evil weed. Vile weed. TAA 66. Anybody get that reference, by the way? The vile weed. If anybody gets that reference, you get absolute brownie points for figuring out what that was. So anybody gets it, you get a shout out in the chat if you can figure out who said that. Craig, imagine if we did get Jude when we had the chance. Also, do you think Rodrigo is realistic to replace our great Mohamed Salah? He's realistically good enough, but I don't know. I haven't got a clue what way the club are thinking for a Salah replacement. Gordon I've spoken about at length, and I do think we'll revisit, but I don't know if he'll be the one they look at for Salah. But look, I'd have Rodrigo tomorrow, mate. I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's gonna... Madrid are going to struggle to keep everybody happy in that department this season, so I don't know, but they'll ask a lot of money. Seinfeld, fucking heroes, absolute heroes. Oh, you guys are amazing. Now, if some of you Google that, that's cheating. But yes, it was when Kenny Rogers roast their episode where Kramer was living in his apartment, and there was this big red line shining light through it, and he then becomes hooked on Kenny Rogers' chicken, and Jerry goes in one day to see the mailman picking up an order, and there was broccoli with it, and he said, "You don't eat broccoli, Newman." And Newman starts eating the broccoli, and then he spits it out and then asks for honey mustard sauce and says, "Vile weed." There you go. Well done, you comedy geeks. I love that. You've all gone up in my estimation there. Love you guys for that one. Love a bit of Seinfeld. Right, I would rather pay 85 million for Kudus instead of Gordon. Nobody has been able to explain why we're so keen on Gordon. Would rather other players. I can explain it to you. 1, he's a Liverpool fan and would run through a brick wall to play for us. 2, homegrown. 3, local lad. 4, will probably be fairly reasonable in price-wise. Somewhere between 60 to 70 maybe. Not going to ask for ludicrous wages. Very amenable chap, and somebody that the club have a fondness for, and would feel like... Look, one thing I think we could all agree on is the player that's kitted out for Newcastle this season is a lot better than the previous incarnation that was at Everton. So the improvements have been there for Gordon this year. He's not the full package yet. There's still a lot to develop there, but sometimes I just think people don't think English players are sexy enough. Always want foreign names. And I think sometimes there's truth to players not being good enough. Sometimes it is down to just the name recognition. But I think he's... I love the idea of players who want to play for the club. I do. And that gives anybody an extra incentive in my eyes to really fight for the cause. So I think signing somebody like Gordon, I'll be happy about it. So, the Trent question, we're going to leave it up for a few more minutes, but it said, what do you think will happen with Trent? Leave on a free in 2025, sold this summer, contract extension less than 300k, or contract extension 300k plus. We'll leave that running in the background. Wakas Ahmad said, Craig, I'm really worried regarding the club's transfer business and policy. When Klopp was there, they tried their best to get business done quickly. If our season is a disaster, what will happen? Oh, sorry, that was about you. Sorry for that. I was trying to I'll get back to that, Harry, in a second. Thank you. So, I'm worried as well, Wakas, and I think it's understandable that you're concerned. But I feel more reassured over the past 48 hours that we will get business done. And you're right, the earlier you can get business done, the better. There is some excuse making that's valid for why our business was perhaps a little bit delayed, but we can't get away from the fact that, like we said yesterday, this is the longest in 28 years that we've gone in a summer transfer window and not made a signing, other than the pandemic year. And that speaks for itself as well. But I think as long as the right bodies are brought in, we've got to sit tight. Now, personally, if I'm not seeing that by next week, I'm going to start getting really, really nervous, because I know everyone's fixated on the window closing, but I'm not. I'm fixated on the season starting. And that's when I want to make sure we kind of know who we're with and who we have playing for us. So, yeah, look, there's some big games early enough in the season, and I want players in the door as early as possible. So, you know, the aim for me should be to have these players signed up, and then when the boys come back from the preseason tour of America with that week to go or whatever, the new players are there ready to go straight into training and go from there. That would be my hope anyway. So, to get back to that one, because it really did interest me that Harry took the time. Craig, the U was dropped from words because they used to have to pay per letter on printing, so dropped letters not crucial to understanding words. Very plausible, mate, and very rational. Yeah, thank you. Genuinely never knew that, but you're always you learn something new, as they say, every day. But interesting. Maybe, I guess over time though they could have revisited that. But again, thank you, Harry, for that. I really mean that, mate. Thank you. UK Stobbs, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Said Bradley and Jarell Kwanzaa had major breakthroughs last season. If anyone, who do you think could do the same this season? I mean, look, I'm probably going to give you the obvious lazy answers. That, you know, a Bobby Clark, but he could go out on loan. Jaden Dans, but again, he could go out on loan. I'm gonna say Ben Doak this year. Ben Doak will have the bigger breakthrough year than we thought maybe he would have had last year. So I'm gonna say Ben Doak for me this year. I was really impressed with the few bits I've seen of him in the 45 against Preston. I know he didn't score, we didn't win, but I thought he looked smart. So I'm gonna say Ben Doak. Good question though. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Zachary. Thank you for your... Zachary Heather, thank you for your super sticker, mate. And Tanya has gifted an Anfield Agenda membership, and that has gone to Alinus. Who's this Mark sending me on? Can Michael Owen just fuck off, please? So, Michael Owen said this about Arne Slot. Why underwhelming Arne Slot could be Liverpool's next big mistake. It's an Anfield Index piece. I'm in no way having a dig at Anfield Index here. As I've said before, I've nothing but respect for Anfield Index. But fuck Michael Owen. I fear it's a possibility for Liverpool to have a similar decline as Man United when they appointed David Moyes. This lazy bullshit that the likes of him or Glenn Johnson or anybody else who just assumes that there has to be a failure after the big figurehead leaves. So, yes, United made a mess when Sir Alex Ferguson left, but he's leaving out one really big talking point there, in that Ferguson basically picked Moyes. Liverpool were running the numbers on this and looking into it in far more detail than the old-fashioned way that maybe Sir Alex Ferguson left United. And also, another important factor here is Ferguson had gotten everything out of that team in that last title-winning season. They were washed, and it needed a lot of work. And he knew that, and it speaks to the great accomplishment of Sir Alex Ferguson to win the title with that team and his quality as a coach. But Jurgen Klopp's left Liverpool in a pretty healthy position. We did great business last summer. Our new coach, I really do believe in. And I'm fed up of it. I'm fed up of people like Michael Owen just being arseholes. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't agree with it. And I don't buy into this sacrificial lamb shite that Arne Slot's destined to fail. I think they wanted to. The likes of Roy Keane and all. Of course they want us to fail. Michael Owen, look, fuck Michael Owen, as I said earlier on. Owen backed Ten Hag and witnessed the 7-0 massacre. Yep, and he also stuck a knife in everyone's back and signed to play for Manchester United as well. So I've no time for Owen in any way, shape or form. Great player, never deny that, but always felt more like England's Michael Owen than Liverpool's Michael Owen. So his lazy arse take on Arne Slot, I don't agree with. Do you think we should sell Alisson? Absolutely not. No way. Why would you sell the best goalkeeper in the world? Yeah, no, not at all. I love Ali. I think every day Ali's here is a good day. But I also love Kelleher. But no way would I look at selling. Yeah, Owen bitter because the cop adored God. Well, you are speaking the truth. You know, Robbie Fowler is certainly the one more affectionately thought of. Certainly from my generation, Robbie Fowler is my favourite ever Liverpool player. Yeah, so I would agree with you on that one. Who would you buy to replace Salah? Mustafa, mate, I already answered that one earlier on. We went between the likes of Kudus, Nico Williams and Gordon as options. Kubo's an intriguing one, but I've yet to find somebody from the Liverpool beat who thinks that there's much to the Kubo stuff. You know, we've seen a lot coming from Japan, from various outlets about Liverpool's interest and Liverpool going to trigger the clause, but nobody that I've spoken to or any interviews I've read on seems to hold much weight to that. It doesn't feel to me like this is one of those we're just trying to keep it quiet scenarios, but really are doing it. Yesterday when I read James Pearce's comment out, I said that maybe it's what's not being said that's important, which is that nobody from either side has said it's close or it's going to happen soon. But again, with the forward stuff and with some of the other players, I think Michael Edwards is working hard to keep names close to his chest. Craig, your current favourite Liverpool player? Mine's Alisson. My list of 3 would be Bradley, Alisson and Darwin. And I know Darwin drives me mad. And I know I will shout at him and scream at him. But I love my wife and she drives me mad. But he does something for me. Like Bobby, he just makes me feel things. Makes me feel good to be alive. Makes me feel happy, angry. He just stirs something in me. And I love his fuck you attitude to negativity or doubters. Yeah, him, Bradley and Alisson probably would be the 3 for me that I think. Firmino was the guy. I love Bobby. I still look over my Bobby painting on the wall. But yeah. Have you seen that we're apparently pushing for Kudus? I've seen the West Ham fan, if we're speaking about that post, but one thing that was left out of that is that the release clause, to the best of my understanding, has expired for this year. So you'd either have to get them to agree to that number or a payment structure, but you can't just go in and trigger it. So I would be dubious that Liverpool would pay 85 million quid for Kudus. It doesn't strike me as sensible, quite frankly. It doesn't strike me as the right player to sign at that money. McAllister's another one, Mo Salah. Yes, look, Maka is the star boy, isn't he? Like, Maka is the one everyone loves, and rightly. You know, there's a lot to love about Alexis McAllister. He's a fine footballer, a fine human being, and yeah, just goes about his business and does it well. But some players just push your buttons, good or bad. And for me, Bradley, I've got that Irish love for, obviously. And I've always championed Conor Bradley, even when he hadn't broken through yet. Alisson, as a goalkeeper, myself, I just look at him in sheer awe and just think of how amazing he is. Same way I looked at the likes of Gigi Buffon, Manuel Neuer back, even Peter Schmeichel back in the day. Like, all, to me, unbelievable role models and goalkeepers. But Darwin's got that mad streak, you know, that flair, South American anger. I love it. I can't explain it. I love it. At the same time, sometimes you want to smash your head against the wall. But football's about emotion for me, as you can probably tell. And Darwin just strikes those chords. Do you think Trent Cone-Doherty will break through this season? No. Not saying Trent Cone-Doherty won't make it, but I think it's a little bit too soon. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Will he stay? Will he go on loan? But one for the future. I wouldn't say for right now anyway. Trainee only is another really interesting one to see what happens this season. And of course we're all waiting for the Rio Nyamoha deal to be confirmed. Right, so on the Trent one, we've had almost 900 votes on it, and we asked, what do you think will happen with Trent? So with 63% of the votes, a contract extension on 300k plus per week was the winning answer. Second place was contract extension on less than 300k. Leave on a free in 2025 was 10%, and sold this summer was 2%. Right, 47 away still from hitting 264,000 subscribers, so it doesn't look like we're going to get there today, but you can still help us out. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. We will get there over the next 24 hours or so, and every single one really does count, so make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And also don't forget about this new episode dropping in the morning. The interview with David Lynch will be on podcast platforms 3 hours before it'll be live on video format, so if you have the Anfield Agenda podcast saved, that episode should drop for you tomorrow. If you don't yet, please do search us out. And whatever podcast platform you choose to listen to us on, we appreciate it. And of course, it is entirely free for everyone to download and listen. Craig, who do you hate more, Joe Cole or Michael Owen? The word hate is one breath that I try not to use in life too much. I try to reserve the word hate for the likes of John W. Henry, as an example, or, you know, people that really wind me up. Joe Cole, it doesn't really... I can't tell you how I really feel, because I'll get in trouble. But let's just say, when I see Joe Cole talking, I kind of want to just go over, pat him on the head and say, shh, Joe, the adults are talking. So he doesn't really do anything for me other than, you know, I don't know, make me feel the urge to suddenly need to buy a new used car. Michael Owen, I've never taken to. I've just never liked them. I think he can give some good analysis on TNT Sport and the Champions League shows and stuff. I think, you know, when he breaks down the movements of a striker and stuff, you know, he can have some good thoughts, but I don't like either of them. Recap, no problem. Let me fly through that for you. Let me fly through the news recap for you guys. One sec, what's Mark sent me here? Right, so Real Sociedad's president has denied the rumours of Kubo joining Liverpool. There are no negotiations with any club. We're in the market to sign players, so anything can happen. But Teke is very happy here, and he's going to continue here. Credit to Anything Liverpool for the initial post on that one. But there you go. I think that kind of tallies with what myself and David were talking about as well. So, yeah, thank you, Mark, for sending that on. Right, news recap real quick. No problemo. Let's go. So, Anthony Gordon, Luke Edwards of the Telegraph. Anthony Gordon told his teammates while on England duty at the Euros that a move to Liverpool was going to happen. Gordon's representatives desperately tried to revive the move late in June but were unable to do so. Then Michael Edwards, according to The Athletic, as always, believes in the importance of ignoring the outside noise and bringing in players with the feeling within the club that they can add significant value. Liverpool also bullet points here from an Athletic piece. Thank you to Anfield Sector, credit for this one. Business may happen before the end of the tour if the right opportunity presents itself. Edwards won't sign average players for the sake of it. Arne Slot wanted to fully assess his squad, and there's arguments internally for an elite midfielder being one that Liverpool want to go after. Anfield Edition, again speaking and crediting some journalists from The Athletic, said, when Liverpool return from the pre-season tour to the USA on August the 4th, Arne Slot will finally have his full squad together, and it should be much clearer then exactly what's required for the season ahead. So the little pushback I have on that is I think that applies more to fringe players than the signings or players that are going to be coming in. Because it's already been established and agreed upon by most of the media. Centre-back, midfielder and a forward. They're the three areas. So that's been decided. So I don't think we need to see the squad assessed to know we still need strength added there. I guess you could argue, is it stuff for the here and now or maybe with an eye to the future? This comes from Chris Bascom, who said, indications are that all parties are biding their time in the Salah and Van Dijk, aware that they remain fundamental to Liverpool's plans this season and there are more financial benefits to leaving on a free. Any centre-back that Liverpool will sign will be one to challenge for a senior position, not instantly assume one, said Chris Bascom as well. Again from Chris, he said, the area glaringly in need of improvement remains central midfield. Arne Slot sees the number 6 as a critical component in his teams. Again, with Chris Bascom, the great unknown in Salah and Van Dijk's case is whether the Saudi Pro League will look to tempt Liverpool with game-changing mega bids for players they will ultimately lose for free if they don't. Again, with Chris, Liverpool rebuffed Newcastle's approach to discuss a deal for Anthony Gordon in June, even though under different circumstances the club would be interested. Then we had, again, more talk around number 6 being a position that Arne Slot knows we need to strengthen. Footy Insider have said that Liverpool are set for a late window signing blitz. The club are working on multiple deals to bring in a centre-back, a winger and a defensive midfielder before the window shuts. Ian Doyle of the Echo has been quoted as saying the signs are starting to point towards an acceptance from Salah, that Salah will soon abdicate his Anfield throne. Basically, I think saying he's leaving on a free, and again, probably common sense. Dominic Soboslai, Anfield Sector, have posted a quote here about life under Arne Slot. He said it's a little bit different, the style of playing, how we play, how we are with the ball and also against the ball. Everybody's in from the training staff and we're getting to know them. I think everybody is happy with it and we're looking forward. Then we had Lewis Steele talking about Luke Chambers close to rejoining Wigan on loan, and that would happen after the pre-season tour of America. And then the last thing that we discussed was the whole Mohamed Kudus link from the West Ham fan who thinks Liverpool are still interested in signing him for 85 million quid. That's pretty much the rundown of the news. Define significant value. In what context, Mark? I think, do you mean from they can add significant value? Okay, so the way I think they define value in that sense is to the squad. So not financial standpoint, that they can come in and add value to the options available, value to the group. That's how I view that piece there. If we're talking about the bit from the Athletic about Michael Edwards, I don't think he's talking about value in a financial standpoint. But of course, that would be a byproduct of a player becoming successful anyway, if we sold them. Right, Craig, if we don't sign a player and we come 10th, will you still be a Liverpool fan? I mean, I don't know what you expect me to answer that question with. We could finish bottom and I'd still be a Liverpool fan. We could go down 3 divisions and I'd still be a Liverpool fan. The only thing that would make me question whether I ever continue to support Liverpool would be the Super League stuff. Or ownership from a state. Yeah, state ownership and the Super League are 2 things that would probably be the only things that would ever really make me question, whether I still feel the connection to the football club or not. But, performances and relegations, that wouldn't change anything other than make me probably more angry. Have I ever played Among Us? No, I haven't, mate. No, I haven't. I'm not... I don't even have... Would you believe this or not? I don't even have one single game on my phone. Not one. That's how... I don't know, boring I am. But I'm all football, mate. All football and boxing. Reading, watching, learning. That's it. Don't really... Outside of that, I watch comedy shows. And I'm never really big into games. Klopp sipping Arsenal t-shirts. Don't know that name, mate. Well in. Craig, do you agree it'll be a big season for Szoboszlai in the 10? Needs more goals and assists and consistency. He definitely needs to up his game from last season, mate. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think he'd know that as well. Started the season well and didn't finish it the same way because of, I think, niggling injuries, and he looked really exhausted as well. But definitely needs to up his game a bit this season, yes. Right, look. Do I like Jimmy Carr? Yes, I do. I think Jimmy Carr is good. Very intelligent man. Right, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday, 8:45 again for another live show tomorrow. And of course, the day after, well, it's match day, isn't it? So we'll get a first look properly at Liverpool's pre-season. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for me before you head off. Drop a like on the stream as well if you haven't done it. And new podcast episode dropping out tomorrow morning. If you haven't subscribed to our Clips channel, check that out. But most importantly, the tickets for the live shows. If you want to come and see us, I wouldn't hang around. We've only got 10 days to go. Can't wait to get over to the UK and catch up with everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. And